Look closely at this video. 2 American Patriot air defense missiles are being fired to intercept an Iranian ballistic missile, which is heading towards a US airbase in Qatar. They miss, so a third is launched, but it too fails to stop the Iranian missile hitting its target. The damage on the ground is only half the story. The combined cost of those 3 Patriots is $12 million, 6 times as much as the Iranian projectile. It's just one example of the enormous financial toll this war will take on the countries involved and the mismatched costs of attack versus defense.
Nobody knows what Donald Trump's victory conditions are. That means nobody knows when this war is going to end, and that means nobody knows what they've got time and money to expend before the shooting is done.
In this video, we're going to expose the hidden costs of the weapons that are causing destruction across the Middle East, and the calculations each key player in this war must make to outlast their enemies.
Controlling the skies, picking targets, death and destruction from the sky, all day long.
So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons.
Here's what you need to know. Let's start with the USA. Their military is ranked the most powerful and best funded in the world. They spend nearly $1 trillion a year on defense and have by far the largest supply of aircraft and more than 5,000 nuclear warheads. Since the start of what the US has dubbed Operation Epic Fury, their military tactics have largely been based around aerial attacks to take out not just Iran's leader, but their military capabilities, striking missile silos, launch sites, warships, and the technology needed to track and control drone launches. Central to the US's strategy are their mobile floating battleships, focused around 2 aircraft carriers, USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald R. Ford. Here, you can see a Tomahawk missile fired from one of the 11 destroyers defending those carriers. Able to fly under the radar, Tomahawks can strike targets 1,000 miles away. The US has fired at least 400 at a combined cost of $800 million. They also have the capability, for the first time, to launch Lucas kamikaze drones copied from Iran. Donald Trump certainly says they have the financial muscle to stay in the fight.
We will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay, whatever it takes.
But we've already seen the US losing military assets that cost tens of millions of dollars, including 3 F-15 jets down by friendly fire over Kuwait. So, will they eventually start to feel the pinch?
I think we can think of those F-15s that were shot down. They're bought and paid for. That was not a money loss for the Americans. It was an absolute disaster for the F-15's reputation. But the US Department of Defense is not going to be hurting to buy a few more airplanes. The US Department of Defense is getting so much money, they have trouble spending it sometimes. So the United States is spending a lot of money on this war. They're spending a lot of money on missiles, on aircraft, and the United States government is borrowing a huge amount of money, and they're going to be able to pay for it all.
Against American might, how does Iran stack up? In terms of budgets and aircraft, they are by far inferior. Their active military is about half the size in terms of people, but they have been preparing for this showdown for a long time. This footage, released from Tehran, shows huge stockpiles of attack drones and missiles hidden away in tunnels. And Iran has another advantage. It's often cheaper to counterattack than it is to defend, and that's exactly what they've done, hitting back at Israel, US bases, and its allies across the region. Their objective, it appears, is to expand the conflict, making the price of war too great to stomach. Let's focus in on one of their key weapons, Shahed drones, described as the AK-47 of the skies because they're cheap and only require low-tech components. Costing $35,000, Iran is thought to have produced tens of thousands before the war broke out. Up to 3.5 meters long, they're able to carry a 40-kilogram payload of explosives, 1,500 miles at 115 miles per hour. And as we've seen in Ukraine, they are very effective. In the first few days of this conflict, swarms of Shahed drones were launched at cities across the Gulf. That was Oman. This is Bahrain. But since those opening salvos, the US now says the rate of drone launches has dropped by 73%. Iran is also burning through an estimated stockpile of 2,500 missiles. So is there any way that Iran can outlast its powerful enemies?
The Iranians can fire loads of cheapy little drones and comparatively unsophisticated missiles at the Gulf monarchies, at Israel, at American, British, and French bases. They can unload the cheap stuff, and the Israelis, the Americans, the Gulf monarchies, and perhaps Britain and France need to spend big to defend themselves. The Iranian launchers are being pummeled. All of those launchers, the mobile launchers that drive around the roads of Iran, firing when possible, hiding when not, those launchers are vulnerable. The fuel trucks carrying liquid fuel are vulnerable. The Americans and the Israelis are attacking those launchers, those fuel trucks, those reloads as fast as they can. So the Iranians aren't depleting their stocks of 2,500 or so by launching them. The Iranians are firing as fast as they can before their stocks of missiles are destroyed.
Let's focus on one of those Gulf monarchies, the UAE. It's been one of the main targets of Iranian attacks. The tourist hotspot Dubai was forced to lock down, with a luxury hotel on the city's famous palm among the sites targeted. The authorities want to shut the war down as fast as possible without sustaining too much damage to cities, infrastructure, or importantly, their reputation as a safe place to live and holiday. With that in mind, the most important weapons in their armory are interceptor missiles, which can stop Iranian aerial attacks. In just the first 4 days of the conflict, the UAE claims to have used interceptors to shoot down 755 of the 812 drones sent to attack them, an impressive intercept rate of 93%. But the interceptor missiles, seen in action in this clip, are estimated to cost between $370,000 and £1 million each, meaning the UAE spent between £280 million and $755 million neutralising the threat. To put that in context, it may have been 33 times more expensive to defend the country than it was to attack it. The American Secretary of State recently admitted it is also much quicker to rebuild and restock attack drones and missiles than it is the defensive interceptors. So is the UAE able to sustain its current approach?
You have to think about defending a $1 billion town, a $1 billion city against that cheap attack device. You can't think about the unit cost of your defensive systems. You spend what you need to spend. The United Arab Emirates don't really know what the American victory conditions are. Nobody knows what Donald Trump's victory conditions are. That means nobody knows when this war is going to end, and that means nobody knows what they've got time and money to expend before the shooting is done.
And what about Israel, America's main ally in this war? For such a small country, it punches well above its weight in military power. 90 nuclear warheads and some of the most advanced technology in the world. Their objective is to destroy the military capabilities of their sworn enemy in the region, Iran, and neutralize the threat of the Iranian-backed militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. Because they're more than 1,000 kilometers away from Iran, their focus is on long-range attack and, vitally, defense. Let's take a closer look at that. You might have heard of Iron Dome, a system which detects and tracks incoming rockets with radar, calculates which ones are a threat, and then destroys them at a cost of $50,000 per interception. The IDF says it destroys 90% of rockets targeted. Recent upgrades to Israel's defensive capabilities cost even more. Just last year, Arrow 3 was rolled out. Its hypersonic interceptor able to shoot down long-range ballistic missiles in space before they re-enter the atmosphere, but each one costs $3 million. During this conflict, a much cheaper alternative is being tested. What you're seeing here is a missile being destroyed by a laser. It's called Iron Beam, only costs $3 to fire, and focuses a high-energy beam onto targets up to 10 kilometers away. There are concerns, though, that the laser doesn't work as well in bad weather. So, even with American backing, how long can they afford to keep things up?
They are saying they're confident. They're saying they've got all the missiles they need. They don't have enough. The Israelis, however, know that their population is amply provided with hardened shelters. And during last year's war in June of 25, we saw just how effective Israeli shelters are. So, if the Israelis have to start limiting their use of Arrow and THAAD missiles, and if they have to rely on the comparatively inexpensive, short-range Iron Dome and Iron Beam systems, it will be difficult, it will be costly in lives and in property. The Israelis can survive it.
So what about the UK? Defence spending cuts over recent decades have seen our military cut to 140,000, but Britain is still the 7th biggest spender in the world in nuclear power, and the Chancellor has committed to the biggest boost in spending since the Cold War. So far, during this conflict, Keir Starmer has limited UK involvement to defending its assets and allies. Slow mobilisation of its armed forces has drawn criticism from countries like Cyprus, the UAE and Bahrain, but the truth is the majority of the Navy's ships are not in a position to be dispatched. The one British vessel that is being sent is HMS Dragon. It's a Type 45 destroyer now being deployed to Cyprus to help protect Akrotiri RAF base. The 8,000-ton warship has a crew of 200. With a price tag of nearly £1 billion to develop and build, its specialist air defence systems will need to protect it as well as the base. Wildcat helicopters are also on their way, with a capacity to help shoot down drones. Plus, the Ministry of Defence has also said for the first time F-35 jets have shot down drones whilst in the air. Even with its limited involvement, the UK will need to carefully conserve its military resources.
The best thing that Britain and France and our other European allies can do is not write a blank check to the Americans, demonstrate to the Americans that they can't treat Europe as a bit of a doormat and then expect strategic assistance later on. The European countries have not been told by America why America's fighting, when it will have achieved its aims, or even really what its aims are. The best thing Europe can do is stand aside, defend our own assets, help our strategic partners survive, and see what happens at the end.
Like any conflict in the Middle East, how this one will end is extremely hard to predict. And all sides will need to consider what cost they're prepared to pay for victory. If you enjoyed this episode, you can see more videos from our What You Need to Know series on screen now.